Trade in Michael Jordan, the greatest player to ever live? That might sound like a crazy idea to you, but you would be shocked if I told you that the Bulls almost traded him away multiple times. What's up guys, it's your boy NBA Dreams and I welcome you back to my channel once again, and today I'm going to be looking at the 5 times Michael Jordan almost got traded. But like always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like my content and would like to see more. So let's get right into it. The first trade we are going to look at is during the 1984 NBA draft, when the Philadelphia 76ers were expected to receive the 3rd pick in the draft, which we all know was Michael Jordan, in exchange for the 5th pick in Charles Barkley, Andrew Toney, and Clement Johnson. This would have been an interesting trade because it definitely would have altered history. Would Jordan have more or less than 6 rings? Would Charles Barkley retire ringless? And would Dr. J have more rings playing alongside MJ? If this trade would have happened, it would have been exciting to see a lineup of Dr. J, MJ, All-Star point guard Maurice Cheeks, MVP Moses Malone, and 1982 6th Man of the Year Bobby Jones. Just imagine how many championships Philly would have won with that squad, and could have also prolonged Dr. J's career. On the other hand, the Bulls would have built their team around Charles Barkley, which isn't a bad idea because Barkley was a Hall of Famer himself. He wasn't MJ, but he was a really good player. It would have been a nightmare for teams going up against a trio of Orlando Woolridge, Andrew Toney, and Charles Barkley every night. Andrew Toney, who would also be involved in the trade, was a really good player himself. He played a big role in the 82-83 championship Sixers and was a 2-time All-Star until chronic foot injuries took over his career. Meanwhile, Clement Johnson would just be a role player. However, this deal never went through, but would have been interesting to see how Charles Barkley would have affected the Bulls and whether or not MJ would have been as dominant as he is in Philadelphia. The second deal was similar to the first one in that it included the 76ers, but it was slightly different because instead of Charles Barkley being traded, it was Dr. J being traded. Many people in the Sixers front office were really interested in Michael Jordan while he was in college because they saw many similarities in his game to Dr. J. Sixers owner once said that he thought he had a deal with the former owner of the Bulls, Johnny Kovler, for the Bulls' 3rd pick. But Rod Thorne, the Bulls GM, would come in the last second and kill that deal and take Jordan with the 3rd pick. It would have been a risky move to make because they had just won a championship a year ago, but it would have been a smart move as well because MJ was 11 years younger and played a lot like Dr. J. Now this is where it gets more interesting. They would have had the 3rd and the 5th pick that year. That's right, alongside with MJ, they would have also had Charles Barkley. So that would most likely mean that Barkley would have won a couple rings in his career, and the Bulls wouldn't be the team to beat in that era because Dr. J was towards the end of his career. But it would have still been entertaining to see Dr. J in a Bulls jersey. But once again, it would have been scary to see Barkley and MJ in their rookie years on the same team, alongside former MVP Moses Malone. Also, with that trio and Maurice Cheeks, the 76ers could have easily given the Celtics a tougher battle instead of losing to them 4-1. The 3rd pick was also before the NBA draft, and that shows you how not many people expected MJ to explode into the player that he is. This trade was a 3-team trade that involved the Bulls, Mavericks, and Clippers, but the main piece of that deal was the Bulls' 3rd pick and MJ for the Clippers' 1982-83 Rookie of the Year, Terry Cummins. At that time, the Bulls were actively looking to trade their 3rd pick to find a superstar to help turn their franchise around. Little did they know that they had that guy in MJ, and like most players in MJ's era, Terry Cummins was a really good player, but he was no MJ. He would not accomplish the things that MJ did in his career. But you couldn't blame the Bulls at that time because Cummins was a good scorer and a great rebounder, and he was a monster in his rookie year when he averaged 23.7 points with 10.6 rebounds and 1.8 steals. How many rookies you know can put up those kind of numbers? He would also be a 2-time All-Star in 1985 and 1989, but his career would take a downfall in the 1992 season when he suffered a serious knee injury in a pickup game. So he was a good player, but definitely not on the level of MJ. It would have been interesting to see Michael Jordan in a Clippers jersey. He could have easily turned their franchise around, especially when they had just came off a 31-51 record with Terry Cummins. But the Bulls looked at that deal once again and withdrew because they felt that MJ gave them a better chance than Cummins to the promised land. This, however, would not be the first time the Clippers attempted to acquire MJ. The second time the Clippers tried to acquire MJ, and the 4th trade also I'll discuss, came in 1988 when the Bulls had just lost to the Pistons 4-1. It was frustrating to the Bulls front office and fan base because this was their 15th loss in 20 playoff games. Many started to believe that Jordan's style of play was the reason for their losing and that they had to make a change. Even their head coach Doug Collins believed that that was the problem. However, one of the few people that believed Jordan could lead a team to a championship was Donald Sterling of the Clippers. He called the Bulls and offered them any combination of 5 players or draft picks for Michael Jordan. At that time, the Clippers also had the 1st and the 6th pick in the draft. So basically, Sterling offered a deal that featured these 2 picks for Jordan, and also keep in mind that the Bulls also had the 11th pick as well. So if this deal would have went through, the Bulls would have had the 1st, 6th, and 11th pick in the draft. With the 1st pick, they could have drafted Rick Smits, who they were heavy on because he was a 7'4" center and the Bulls were in search for a big man. And with the 6th pick, they could have picked up a guard in Mitch Richmond. And to top it off with the 11th pick, they could have drafted Rod Strickland. Rick Smits would end up being a 2-time All-Star and the 2nd best player on a Pacers team with Reggie Miller. Mitch Richmond, as we all know, would be a 6-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, and a Hall of Famer. And Rod Strickland would have a nice lengthy career where he averaged 17.8 points, 10.5 assists, and 5.3 rebounds per game in his best year. So if the trade would have happened, the Bulls would have had a great young core of players alongside Scottie Pippen, Charles Oakley, and Horace Grant, and a system that wouldn't rely too much on MJ. That might sound like a great plan at that time, but looking back at it today, none of those 3 players are at MJ's level. And at the end of the day, MJ has more rings than all of those 3 guys combined. The Bulls GM would back out of the deal because he felt that Jordan was untradeable and that he was going to bring home a trophy sooner or later. The final potential trade we are going to look at today was the trade of MJ to the Atlanta Hawks for center Tree Rollins. In 1984, the Bulls, like many teams, were in desperate need of a franchise center, and since they saw the 2 best big men in the draft go to the Rockets and the Trailblazers, they felt like trading their 3rd pick for an established big man was the right move. They originally wanted Jack Sigma of the Seattle Supersonics, but since they couldn't get him, they turned their attention to Tree Rollins. On offense, Tree Rollins wasn't much of a threat, but he made his presence known on the defensive end where he averaged 3.6 blocks per game in the 1983 season and 4.3 blocks in the 1982 season. For some weird reason, the deal was never finalized and the Bulls kept their 3rd pick. But now let's imagine that the deal did go through. The Hawks should have had a combo of Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan. Wow, 2 of the greatest players and dunkers in the history of basketball. Just imagine how many highlight reel dunks fans would witness in these games. And also imagine how many games they would have won with MJ, Dominique, Doc Rivers, Cliff Livingston, and Kevin Willis. That's a good enough team to defeat any powerhouse in the East like the Celtics and Pistons. So while it would have been exciting to see, the trade never happened and MJ would make history in Chicago. So that's it for today, guys. These are the 5 trades that I decided to look at today. If you know any other rumored deals of Michael Jordan, leave it in the comment section and let me know what you think about this video. And don't forget, if you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe.